Hi, and thanks for joining us again. This video presentation is based on a review of 40 sources. The information presents an overall picture of considerations for settling in Jamaica. Crime is currently decreasing, and with countries trying to create barriers for immigrants, it may be time to explore Jamaica. This presentation will focus on considerations for returning Jamaicans, housing and crime challenges. Jamaicans in the diaspora who plan to return home face several challenges. Two major areas of concern are housing mishaps, property fraud and construction problems, and crime and safety issues. The following report outlines key considerations in these areas, provides examples of incidents affecting returning residents, and offers strategies to mitigate these risks. Let us examine the housing mishaps. Returning residents often invest their life savings into Jamaican real estate or construction projects, but unfortunately, some encounter fraud or poor practices. It's essential to be aware of common pitfalls. Real estate fraud and title issues. Property scams are a serious concern. Fraudsters have been known to sell land or homes they don't own by using forged documents or false titles. Sometimes, the scammer collects payment and disappears, leaving the buyer with no legitimate claim to the property. Fake land sales are one prevalent scheme. A scammer may advertise a plot that either doesn't exist or was already sold, targeting buyers, often non-residents abroad, who can't easily inspect the land in person. Victims have lost large sums in such scams. For example, one returning Jamaican in 2009 was swindled out of 20 million Jamaican dollars in a "let me build your house" land scheme. There have also been illegal development scams. For example, in the Bernard Lodge area of St. Catherine, dozens of people built homes on what turned out to be illegally acquired land. Authorities demolished those unfinished houses in 2022, leaving victims, including at least one young homeowner, devastated. These cases underscore the need for vigilance when buying property. Always verify that a seller owns the land by conducting an official title search via the National Land Agency and using a reputable attorney. The truth is, when in doubt, leave it out. The Real Estate Board of Jamaica recommends working only with licensed real estate dealers and doing thorough due diligence, especially for overseas buyers. However, it is essential to understand that while you may have a real estate dealer, you should also do your due diligence. In other words, friendship and business don't mesh. Another concern is contractor and construction problems. Many returnees opt to build or renovate homes, but unreliable contractors or builders can turn these dream projects into nightmares. Some overseas Jamaicans hire builders in their absence only to later find shoddy workmanship or incomplete structures. In one letter to the editor, a returning resident described paying for a house that, even 2 years after construction, still had a leaking roof, mold issues, faulty wiring, and other defects, essentially an uninhabitable home. Worse, the builder continued doing business elsewhere with impunity, leaving the owner with little recourse. Unfortunately, such build your house scams targeting diaspora clients are not uncommon. Unscrupulous contractors may use the client's absence to cut corners or even disappear with funds. Many builders will make promises regarding the amenities on offer at the development. For example, one developer could promise that a tank to supply the development will be built. However, when the project is completed, no tank is constructed, leaving the development with water issues. The reality is that even when fraud isn't involved, broken promises in housing developments can create hardships. A notable example is the Culloden by the Sea project in Westmoreland. Lured by marketing for a gated community with amenities, many Jamaicans, including retired returnees, bought lots and built homes there. Decades later, the development still lacks the promised infrastructure: no proper perimeter fencing, unmanned security gates, and unfinished facilities. This exposed residents to trespassers. Squatters roam the property, and thieves have easy access. Homeowners who returned from overseas for quiet, peaceful retirement are instead frustrated and fearful. One returning resident in Culloden stated her house was broken into so many times that she wanted to go back to the US where I lived in a safe community, saying she never imagined she'd feel safer abroad than in her own homeland after spending millions to build her Jamaican home. Such cases highlight the importance of vetting developers and contractors. Returnees should insist on written contracts, check builders' track records, and consider supervising the work or having a trusted representative do so through regular inspections. It may also be wise to withhold final payment until projects are completed satisfactorily. Engaging professionals, architects, quantity surveyors, and project managers can help ensure accountability. Now, let us explore legal disputes and land ownership. Property ownership disputes can be another hazard for returnees. After years abroad, a Jamaican might return to find relatives or tenants living on their property or discover boundary and title issues. Resolving these matters can be contentious and at times dangerous. Some returning residents have been pulled into family feuds over land inheritance, which sometimes turn violent. In the case of 67-year-old Evadne Gale, a friend warned her, "Don't fight any issues about land. Don't go there and fight people for land. It's not worth it," noting that such conflicts in Jamaica are often within families rather than random crimes. To avoid legal disputes, returnees should ensure all property documents are in order, e.g., updated titles, wills, or powers of attorney, before relocating. It's also advisable to consult a Jamaican lawyer if there's any doubt about ownership or to mediate family arrangements. Taking a non confrontational approach in settling land matters is wise, as multiple reports suggest that bitter disputes over property or money among relatives have led to harm in the past. Crime and safety concerns. Beyond housing issues, returning Jamaicans are often anxious about personal safety, and not without reason. While Jamaica in general has a high crime rate, returnees can face particular threats. Police and diaspora representatives have noted that criminals sometimes view returning residents as wealthy, soft targets. After years abroad, returnees may have substantial savings, shipments of household goods, or foreign pensions, which can attract thieves. Additionally, some returnees are out of touch with the local security landscape and may let their guard down. Key concerns include robberies, scams, and, in worst cases, violent attacks. Below are some safety considerations. Targeted by criminals. Former Deputy Police Commissioner Mark Shields remarked that there's a significant risk to returning residents for robbery, fraud, and the ultimate crime of murder, as criminals assume returnees are rich. This perception can make returning Jamaicans targets for home invasions, muggings, or extortion. Notably, some of the attacks on returnees are not random, but involve persons the victims came to trust. Jamaican police have observed that many returning residents who become victims were targeted by family members or persons associated with them rather than strangers. In other words, an individual might be harmed by a dishonest employee, a distant relative, or an acquaintance who gained their confidence. For example, the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, warned returnees to vet the people they hire or do business with because some locals seek proximity to returning residents with the intent to victimize them for financial gain. This was tragically illustrated in the murder of 63-year-old Delroy Walker in 2018, a returning charity worker who was stabbed to death at his St. Mary home following a dispute with a local handyman he had employed. The lesson is clear. Be cautious about new friendships or staff hires until you're sure of people's backgrounds and intentions. High risk situations and areas. No area is completely immune to crime, but returnees should be mindful of certain vulnerabilities. Some victims have been attacked in what they believe to be safe communities. In January 2020, for instance, 72-year-old Loris Murray, a retired nurse who moved back after decades in the U.S., was found murdered in her home in an upscale area of Ocho Rios. The killing shocked the once quiet neighborhood and prompted calls for increased police presence. Criminals had broken in at night to rob her, and she was brutally assaulted and strangled. This shows that even relatively peaceful or tourist towns can harbor dangers. Rural areas, where police response may be slower and homes more isolated, also pose risks. The double murder of Halford and Florence Anderson in 2018 is a sobering example. The couple had lived in the UK for 50 plus years and retired to Portland, but were slain in their home after Mrs. Anderson reported falling victim to an $8 million fraud scheme. Police believe the murders were linked to that scam, indicating that criminals targeted them knowing they had money or as retribution for involving law enforcement. These incidents underscore that returning residents should not become complacent. Basic security measures, alarm systems, strong locks, adequate lighting, dogs, etc., are essential, no matter the locale. It's also prudent not to advertise one's wealth. Local criminals may be watching for signs of newly returned foreigners bringing in cash or expensive belongings. Common scams and threats. Apart from violent crime, there are scams that prey on returnees. Financial fraud is one. As mentioned, one couple was embroiled in a major credit card fraud case that may have led to their deaths. Returnees might also be targeted by con artists offering get rich investments, bogus charity appeals, or even friendly scams like overcharging for services. The JCF has noted risks of fraudulent business dealings, urging returnees to do due diligence before entering any financial agreements. Another scam involves criminals posing as potential tenants or buyers to scam returning residents who are renting or selling property, for example, by paying with fake checks or false proof of wire transfers. Additionally, with the rise of online classifieds, some scammers post fake rental listings aimed at diaspora members planning to move home, luring them to send deposits remotely. Returnees should remain skeptical of deals that seem too easy or too good to be true, and verify everything. In general, keep your personal information guarded. Don't overshare details of your finances, travel plans, or addresses publicly to avoid being singled out by fraudsters. Perception versus reality. It is worth noting that Jamaican authorities have tried to reassure the diaspora that not all returning residents will be victimized. Some analyses argue that many crimes against returnees stem from personal disputes or specific circumstances, rather than an organized targeting of all expats. In some cases, returnees have unfortunately been harmed by close acquaintances over property, family disagreements, or money owed, which is a risk that exists in any community. Still, the statistics in recent years have been alarming. The Jamaica Association for the Resettlement of Returning Residents reported in late 2019 that there was a 47% increase in murders of returnees compared to the previous year. By November 2019, at least 25 returning residents had been killed, up from 17 in 2018. Yardhype.com. The head of that association, Percival Latouche, has tallied over 200 murders of returning citizens since 2000 and publicly warned that the brutality of these crimes is unprecedented. For context, victims have included retirees from the UK, USA, and Canada. 8 British returnees were killed in 2017 alone. This has caused considerable fear in the diaspora. While the overall probability of becoming a victim may be low relative to the number of people returning, it is understandable that such high-profile incidents make safety a top concern. Mitigation strategies for returnees. Despite the challenges, there are ways for returning Jamaicans to protect themselves and safeguard their investments. Here are several strategies and resources to help avoid housing pitfalls and improve personal security. Avoiding housing scams and construction mishaps. Verify before you buy. Always verify property titles through official channels. Check with the National Land Agency to ensure the seller truly owns the land, house, and that there are no liens or disputes. Do not rely solely on copies of documents provided by the seller. Independent title searches are worth the cost. Use reputable professionals. Work with licensed real estate agents and attorneys when purchasing property. The Real Estate Board of Jamaica maintains a registry of approved dealers. An agent should be able to prove their license. Similarly, hire a trustworthy lawyer, ask fellow returnees or local friends for recommendations to handle all sale transactions or building contracts. Legitimate professionals can help detect red flags, such as inconsistent paperwork or unusually rushed deals, and ensure all documents, sales agreements, construction contracts are properly executed. Inspect and research. If possible, visit properties in person or have a reliable representative do so before sending money. This helps confirm that the property exists as advertised and matches the description. Scammers have been known to use photos of other people's homes to lure buyers. For land purchases, request a surveyor's report and verify plot details against the title. Be wary of sellers who discourage inspections or push for quick payment. That's a red flag. Staged payments for construction. When building or renovating, avoid paying the full cost upfront. Instead, arrange a payment schedule tied to completion milestones. For example, a portion on signing the contract, then incremental payments as each phase, foundation, roofing, plumbing, etc., is finished satisfactorily. This incentivizes contractors to finish the job and do it properly. Always get receipts and keep records of all payments and agreements. Regular oversight. It's crucial to monitor construction progress. If you're not on island, consider hiring a project manager or asking a trusted local friend, relative to check the site regularly and send updates, photos, videos. Surprise visits can also be effective. This reduces the chance of a contractor abandoning the project or using substandard materials without your knowledge. Ensure that any contractor you engage has verifiable references. You can even check if they are a member of the Master Builders Association or a registered company. Being a visible, involved client signals to the builder that you're attentive and less likely to be an easy mark. Legal preparedness. Have a solid contract for any work, stipulating the scope, timeline, payment terms, and penalties for non-completion. If disputes arise, don't hesitate to get legal advice early. It's better to spend a little on an attorney to send a warning letter or mediate than to lose a fortune on an unfinished house. In cases of suspected fraud, e.g., a developer disappearing with your money, gather all documentation, contracts, receipts, correspondence, and report the matter to the police and the real estate board. There are laws in Jamaica that can potentially hold fraudsters accountable, and early action may improve your chances of recovery. Enhancing personal safety and security. Stay low key. One of the best defenses is to avoid drawing unwanted attention. Upon returning, try not to showcase extravagant wealth. Criminals may notice things like high end appliances being delivered, luxury vehicles, or frequent expensive renovations. While you should enjoy the fruits of your labor, it's wise initially to be modest as you settle in. For instance, consider using an unmarked vehicle for moving shipments from the wharf instead of a convoy that signals big barrel deliveries. Secure your home. Treat home security as a priority project. Install robust doors and window grills, an alarm system, or security cameras. Many modern systems can send alerts to your phone. These can deter opportunistic burglars. Ensure good outdoor lighting. If affordable, alarm monitoring or hiring a security company for periodic patrols in your neighborhood can add peace of mind. Some returning residents also get a guard dog or work together with neighbors to keep an eye on each other's properties. Remember that the appearance of security, cameras, alarm signs, beware of dog notices, can discourage criminals from choosing your home. Build community connections. While you should be cautious, don't isolate yourself completely. Get to know trustworthy neighbors and local community leaders. They can provide informal security, for example, alerting you or the police if something seems amiss at your property. Consider joining a citizens association or neighborhood watch if one exists. Being part of a community means you'll have local support and information about any crime trends in the area. Longtime residents can also share practical safety tips specific to your town or district. Be careful with personal hires. Many returnees will need to hire help, whether a gardener, housekeeper, caregiver, or contractor. This is an area to exercise extreme care. Always check references or background if you can. The Jamaican police have even considered offering a service to do background checks on people that returning residents plan to employ. It may be worthwhile to utilize such services or private vetting services. At minimum, get a copy of a government ID from anyone you hire and let them know you have their details on file. Limit the access workers have to your home until they've proven trustworthy. For example, don't hand over keys or divulge alarm codes to short term contractors. If you must, consider changing locks or codes afterward. Many crimes against returnees have involved employees or acquaintances, so a healthy skepticism is appropriate. Stay alert and practice habits. Just as you would in New York or London, practice good personal security habits in Jamaica. This includes being aware of your surroundings when coming home, especially at night. If you suspect you're being followed, don't drive straight into your gate. Instead, circle around or head to a police station and call for help. Vary your routines if possible. For example, don't go jogging at the exact same time on the same route every day. Keep emergency numbers handy. If you receive any threats or feel targeted, report it to the police immediately. The JCF has stated that returning residents should promptly inform them of any such issues so they can respond. The police have also assigned liaison officers in each parish specifically to assist returning residents and give feedback on any crimes against them. Zrenia, so make use of these channels. Leverage official resources. The Jamaican government and diaspora organizations provide resources to help returnees. For example, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs publishes a Welcome Home, Safety and Security Handbook with tips for resettling safely. This guide, available online as a PDF, covers practical advice from securing your home to handling emergencies. Reading such material can prepare you for common scenarios. Additionally, groups like the Jamaica Association for the Resettlement of Returning Residents, JARRR, can offer peer advice. They often know reputable service providers and can share recent scam warnings or crime trends affecting the community. Staying informed through local news and these networks will help you adapt your security measures as needed. In short, knowledge and vigilance are key. Understand the environment you're returning to, take sensible precautions, and don't hesitate to seek help or advice from authorities and Conclusion. In summary, Jamaicans returning home must navigate a landscape that includes real estate pitfalls and security challenges. By learning from past incidents and taking proactive measures, returnees can significantly reduce their risks. Thoroughly vet every property deal and construction project to avoid housing mishaps like fraud or unfinished work. At the same time, stay vigilant about personal safety. Secure your home, be mindful of whom you trust, and stay connected with community and law enforcement resources. Many Jamaicans have successfully resettled and enjoy a good quality of life back home. The key is to approach the move with realistic caution and preparation. With the right precautions, returning residents can safeguard both their dream home and their personal well being as they resettle in Jamaica.